got that heat. Roofer got that. Flame on.
What's going on? I am the Goods on YouTube. We're back. 2020 draft class, the real draft countdown, brought to you by Bluejaybrandon and myself. Let's jump into this one. All right, we're gonna start it off with Jaden McDaniels, highly touted prospect before coming into Washington. Let's see, he was fairly hyped as a recruit coming into college, but ultimately didn't get much time on the court. When he was out there, he was very raw, but he did show some talent that many scouts are excited about. He's the younger brother of NBA player Jalen McDaniels, who was selected last year, second round by the Hornets. Jalen began to carve out consistent minutes with Charlotte and flashed both offensive and defensive potential. Many analysts see Jaden as possessing even more skill than his older brother. He's certainly a risk for teams in the same vein as other prospects we've seen. There are rumors of his work ethic issues, but assuming he can pull it all together, he could be a starter on many teams. Are you still high on him as the shine is worn off? I'll tell you guys what, let's bring up his stats. When I look at his jump shot, man, it looks kind of smooth, and he doesn't really have to get off the ground too high. I remember him being like, really highly touted in high school. Haven't heard much since. Maybe I would take a pick on him if I had a later pick. He looks smooth, but who knows what he could become in the league. Anyway, he's rated 70 overall. You see his highest two badges down there, small forward, power forward. All right, moving on to another front court player. This is the first of two FSU wings on the list. It's Patrick Williams. He primarily plays the three, and he has tantalizing potential. He's not really a knockdown shooter yet, but with better mechanics and more reps, he may get there. Bluejaybrandon says his biggest positives are a 6'11" wingspan and his athleticism. This makes him an excellent help defender in double teams, and his ability to get up for lobs is impressive. He's still too raw to contribute, but he has some of the best potential in this class. It will take a while for it to come out. Less patient teams may never see it. Do you have any thoughts on Patrick Williams? Well, I haven't seen much of this guy other than the footage that I'm showing you right here in these clips. 6'11" wingspan is nothing to scoff at. That could be, if he's a defensive player, that could be it could be something that could cause issues for other teams. But to be honest, guys, I don't know much about this prospect, so we'll just have to wait and see. Here are his collegiate stats. All right, so he has only spent 1 year at Florida State. He is a freshman, so yeah, he will be very raw. Let's move on to a notable name. 19th prospect on the list, says Bluejaybrandon, is Josh Green, guard out of Arizona. He was hyped coming out of high school, was part of a recruiting class for Arizona that underwhelmed considering their expectations. That doesn't fall all on Green though. He flashed enough athleticism, playmaking, and scoring to probably solidify a first round pick. He's 6'5" and long, so his size probably won't be an issue. Has a deadly mid-range game that will look to stretch in the pros. His biggest highlights come from his transition game, where he's able to get out in space. He also has one of the more refined pull-up games in his class. One advanced well beyond his age. I know he's polarizing prospect, so I'm curious if any of you are high on him. He's not my top perimeter player, but I also wouldn't be disappointed if my team scooped him late. All right. So again, this is another prospect that, well, I really only saw like highlight material from this guy. I haven't seen real game footage, so I don't really know what his negatives are. I look forward to looking him up. He does have good size. He seems like a guy that could stick around the league for a long time. I haven't seen anything that just stands out to me, but again, I need to watch game film. But I'm no professional scout, so whatever the ratings whatever the rating suggests in game is what I'm just going to take him at face value in regards to whether I draft him or not. But he does have really good size, and if his mid-range game is good, maybe he can improve his outside shooting. Maybe he can just stick around. He seems like a guy that will be around the league for a while, so we'll see. All right, coming in, we got his teammate, all right? So his teammate from Arizona. Let's read Bluejaybrandon's analysis. With Josh, 18 is 18 is teammates with Josh Green, and it's sure to be polarizing. Nico Mannion out of Arizona was a highly touted prospect out of high school and stood out for his playmaking and bright orange curly hair. It's not a stretch to say he's unique for his appearance alone. Nico certainly underperformed at Arizona. He was supposed to be competing for the first overall pick in some experts' minds, but instead likely sees his stock fall out of the lottery. That is all, of course, assuming he doesn't return to school, where he may have a chance to rekindle that preseason hype, raise his stock. Assuming he stays, I think he will be tantalized by his playmaking ability. He has a knack for passing guys open and can place lobs with great precision. The problem is he isn't a floor general like most point guards in this draft, and he was overcome at times by the speed of the college game. Ugh, that sounds bad. Ultimately, I don't think he is able to reach the Steve Nash or Jason Kidd comparisons he drew early on, but I do think he can carve out a role as a starter or decent backup. He'll need to progress his defense or shooting to stay in rotation, but his passing alone should allow him to be a viable option at the next level. He finds himself in the center of a draft full of question marks. All right, so I followed him in high school. Somebody in the comments tell me if I'm wrong. Didn't he reclassify so that he can go to college a year early? That's what I think happened. I mean, I think he's going to be okay. Even in high school, he was getting crazy. He was getting some really nice highlights in high school. But even when I watched him then, I wondered, like, what can he do at the next level? So I don't know what he'll be able to do if he's getting, blown by in college. Next up on the list, I have a wing out of Florida State, Devin Vassell. Or maybe it's Devin Vassell. I'm completely unfamiliar with this prospect, so let's go to Bluejaybrandon's analysis. He says he rose from relative obscurity and climbed up mock drafts, solidifying himself as many analysts' top 3-and-D player in the class. He'll likely find himself as a lottery pick on draft day. His biggest draw is the defensive part of his 3-and-D. He has excellent length and quick hips. He'll be able to keep his assignment in front of him at all times. He was often given the hardest matchup of his ACC opponents and made their life difficult. Additionally, he shot lights out, especially from corner threes. Quite high on him myself, but I can't help but feel as though he put together one great season that is not indicative of his overall play. He'll certainly be a matchup nightmare defensively once he adjusts to the pro game, but only time will tell if his shooting streak is legitimate or just an aberration. All right. So I think he spent 2 years in college. I think he is a sophomore. Those were his stats that were on the screen there. He's a 71 overall. You can see his 2 highest badges listed down there in the left corner. All right, let's move on to a guy from Vandy. I like Vandy. So let's get on this one. Aaron Nesmith. Is it Nesmith or Nesmith? I'm going to say Nesmith. All right. Aaron Nesmith, the wing out of Vanderbilt. Nesmith has battled injury throughout his college career, but when he's on the court, he can be electric. He's undoubtedly one of the best shooters in this draft, a constant spot-up threat, has no problem hitting with the hand in his face. He's the polar opposite of a guy like Devin Vassell. As Nesmith's offense is strides better than his defense. He doesn't have the lateral quickness and athleticism to keep up with quicker players, Unless his defense improves, he'll likely fall into a Corver, McDermott type of role. What are your opinions of him? Who do you have him over? Would you rather have Vassell, Bay, or another wing in this draft? Okay, so I was looking at this guy, his stats, man. So he's a 71 overall. Let me get that out the way. 71 overall here in this draft class. But I was looking at his stats. He made a pretty sizable leap from distance in terms of shooting percentage from his freshman year to his sophomore year. So he has definitely improved. I didn't follow him. Well, I still don't follow him. So I'm not sure if, he was held back by injury the first season, if that's what it was. But the sample size in the second season is a little bit smaller than his first season. So that may be it too. All right. Another big name that you guys might know from a blue blood school of Kentucky. So, Tyrese Maxey. All right, let's jump into Bluejaybrandon's analysis. He says I recognize he is likely dropping in many mocks. Okay, I just think with the pedigree of being McDonald's All-American and UK starter, he's bound to find his footing. He's a solid shooter, but was wildly inconsistent at Kentucky. This is partially because of the paradox of Kentucky's backcourt, where they seemingly had 3 studs and no studs at the same time. He was never really able to develop a rhythm. Maxey still has a lot of potential, and if he finds a team that is willing to be patient with his development, he could blossom into an excellent guard. I watched a little bit of him during the season. I think he showed some bright spots. The only thing about like Kentucky, they're guys who have been like really solid at the point guard. Dang, I can't remember his name. Briscoe. Like I really liked Briscoe. I thought he would be like a solid rotational player. But, over in the league, I guess they just really can't use a player like that. So I think Tyrese Maxey is going to be the opposite. He wasn't as solid. Maybe he wasn't as solid for Kentucky. I didn't really follow their team that much, but when I saw him play a few times, he seemed to be doing okay. He seemed to be doing well. I think I caught a game where he had like a really good game. Can't remember who they played against, but I think he'll be okay in the league. I think it'll be like the opposite situation of what Isaiah Briscoe was going through. Like I guess Isaiah Briscoe's had more run in the league as of late, but overall. Anyway, let's move on. Precious Achua. Guys, I know I probably got that name wrong, so you guys got to correct me. All right, let's see. Athletic forward out of Memphis, highly recruited while he was consistent at Memphis. He never really brought the wow factor. Part of that may be the extra attention he would have received from opponents after the loss of Wiseman. He's an above average athlete who likes to play above the rim. Most notably, he was a standout shot blocker, all-around hustle player. His ability to gather an offensive rebound and go back up should carry forward to the NBA. As for his weakness, the main one looks to be his shooting. He's below average shooter, even struggles at free throws. He's under 60%. That may be an indicator that the shot will never be there. Even so, a lob threat, cutter, and defensive energy player should be able to carve out a role on a team. I was thinking about that when I was watching this guy. I was thinking, like, if Wiseman was there, how much better would he actually be? Or how many better looks would he actually get? Here's his stats for the year. But when you watch the film of him, you definitely can see energy. You definitely can see he's trying to do everything he can for the most part to help his team. He doesn't appear to be like a wild player. I don't want to call him, sometimes you get energetic players who are kind of wild. I remember Joakim Noah. He was really energetic when he came into the league as a rookie for the Bulls. Sometimes he was kind of wild, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. This guy doesn't seem to be like that, but he does carry that energy. He has a poise to him, in my opinion, again. But he's 71 overall. Moving on. Theo Maladon. I'm guessing that's how you say his name. I've never actually heard it pronounced, but I have seen him floating around in mock drafts. Seen a few highlights of him. I've never watched any of his games, so there's that. Now, the analysis. Bluejaybrandon says he's an explosive point guard from France, playing for Asvel Basket. I guess that's how you say it. Like many other Euro prospects, he is a relative unknown coming into the league. His position has fluctuated throughout the year from a guaranteed top 10 to potentially out of the lottery. Has incredibly quick first step, has no trouble blowing by even average opponents. He excels in open space with his athleticism. Unfortunately, the shot and playmaking have not caught up to the athleticism. In my opinion, he has a lot of untapped potential, and it's worth a gamble for a team in need of a guard for the future. Those of you that may be more familiar, are you high on him? Is he too raw to be worth it? When I looked at his film, I didn't even know he was a point guard. Well, I didn't look at the film. I just looked at highlights. Let's be real. On this guy, anyway. I do watch film on some players, but yeah, I don't know what this guy's gonna be. I went looking for his stats, and I found his stats on this website. I think it's called Pro Ballers or something like that. But 6.7 points, 1.9 rebounds, 2 assists. I wonder how many minutes a game he was getting, because none of this stood out at me. And then when I looked at like his highlights, I was like, these are the highlights? I mean, there's something there, but I was like, aren't there better players that maybe they're older, but they're way more polished than this guy? Have a look, maybe have the same upside. What is this guy's upside? If you guys go watch his highlights, you tell me. Maybe I just watched the wrong set of highlights. Not high on that guy. All right, let's move forward. RJ Hampton, guard who decided to forego college and head straight to the NBL in Australia. He also marks the first 72 overall in his draft class. All right. He was highly regarded coming out of high school and is a quick twitch athlete with a developing shooting stroke. While his stats weren't amazing overseas, he proved he could compete against grown men on a professional level. His quick hands allow him to get steals, and he's a sneaky finisher inside with his long arms. He'll need to bulk up in the NBA and continue to work on his jumper. His big thing is consistency, where he shows flashes but will follow it up with a glaring mistake. He just needs to start to string together. He just needs to start to string his good plays together. Okay. I like RJ Hampton. At first I got kind of down on him. Then I went back and watched him some more. I like him. He reclassified coming out of high school. He reclassified, and then there was a bunch of speculation where he might go, and then he decided to go to NBL. I think he's going to be better than what the one season that he had in the NBL. I don't think that season is indicative of who he's going to be. But then again, maybe it is. He's a 72 overall rated player. I think he has more talent than what he showcased in the NBL. I don't know. It depends on what team he goes to. I don't know if he'll be a point guard. Probably be like a 2 guard with some handling responsibilities. But I like him. I'd take him. I don't know. Well, there's a couple guys I would take before him, but I don't think he would be a bad pick for anybody. I think he's going to stick around the league for quite a while, but it may also take a while for him to catch on and have, one of those years where he's scoring in double digits. It might take a few years for that, but I think he'll be around the league for a while. All right, guys, last one, Cole Anthony. I know it's probably a lot of you guys' favorite player, 72 overall. Let's get into the analysis. Bluejaybrandon says Cole had a very turbulent college career as he battled injury with UNC having an off year. Some may look let's see, some may look to put that disappointment on Anthony and his lack of production. While he did struggle, he showed flashes early of what he's capable of. He had several games to start the year where he poured in the buckets. He's a microwave type player, or once a few go in, the basket just seems to get wider. While many will rightfully be skeptical of Anthony, I think his commitment to learning the game is admirable. Although he wasn't suiting up, he was courtside with Roy Williams, just absorbing as much basketball knowledge as possible. He certainly has to prove a lot of doubters wrong, but he has the pedigree and the potential to be a solid pro. I don't know what to think of this guy. When I saw him in high school, man, he looked like he was probably the elite of the elite. Man, he looked really good. High school didn't seem like it was much competition for him. Next level, I don't know, because he had injuries. You got to be fair with these type of things. But going a step even higher, I don't know. He could turn out to be like a guy like Fred VanVleet, where he's the real killer on the team, but he doesn't get as much notoriety for it. I think that's the type of player that he might end up being. But if he doesn't pan out to be that type of player, I still see him making teams, sticking around the league for a while. But I think he's going to be one of those players that's like a silent killer. Maybe he comes off the bench, but he's still a killer. Maybe he doesn't start, but he finishes. So we'll see. We will see. That is all I have for this episode. This was a long episode. Got more coming for you guys. Big shout out to Bluejaybrandon. We're gone.